Okay, we're live. All right. So on the test, the way it's graded is it will be some things will be graded on appearance and some things will be the code. So parts of it, because we'll give you a picture of this is what we want it to look like. And for some things, like when we don't give you an exact, oh, we want it this many pixels away, then we're just going to grade it based on does it look like it. But in some cases we'll say, we'll go in and make sure that you use your CSS only on your CSS page and not on your HTML page. So yeah, some of both. We'll make sure you use all the tags that you need to use. All right, so yeah, feel free to raise your hand, ask questions at any point today. We're going to try and keep this to an hour, but we'll focus purely on HTML and CSS because Dr. Payne has a review, and she has 10 minutes of HTML and CSS, and the rest is flow charting and conceptual stuff. So I'll have you refer to that, and that's posted on Learning Suite. I believe the link is, or I emailed it out. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to show you guys this is the note sheet. I was going to say cheat sheet, but it's not cheating. So note sheet for the exam. So really we're not, I don't want you guys to stress out about memorizing each name, but you do need to know how to use it, right? You need to look at, text line and be like, oh yeah, I remember how to use that, or see a web page and say, oh, I need to use one of these properties, look over here, oh yeah, this one. So anyway, sorry, this ear thing keeps popping out. So I'll have these printed out so that you don't have to flip back and forth on test day. And look, it even has this nice little thing down there. So, okay. All right, any questions on this before I move on to review? No? Okay. So the main things I wanted to cover today that I feel like we talked about, or that I had the most questions on, were how to use divs to kind of create the skeleton of your page, and also positioning on that page and using the Z index. So we'll go over that first. Yeah, so I'm going to be using Sublime, but it's okay if you're using brackets or something else.
Can we hit a light up there?
Yes, sorry, I forgot about that. Okay. Much better. Yeah, especially with this black background, right? Okay, I'm going to try and zoom in on this too. I knew how to do this. Font, larger, Control plus keypad plus. Control. Okay, anyway, so we're going to go ahead and just start with a new HTML page. Okay, so let's just do this. Doc type, oh, I forgot my exclamation point. Doc type HTML. And remember, you always need that so that browser recognizes that it's HTML5 that we're using. That may or may not be on the test. Okay, let's see. That'd be mean if I said that when it wasn't actually on the test. About everything. Oh, that may or may not be on the test. Mean. Okay. All right. So first, I just kind of set up my page with my head and body tags. Let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to save it as index.html. Make sure you add that .html when you save it, because then the program that you're working with will recognize it as an HTML. And then we're also going to create a CSS sheet. I'm just going to delete all this, actually.
How much of this information will be given on the test? Will we be given a folder that we unzip and
Yes. So a good example of what the beginning of the test looks like would be, oh, not that. Where's my Learning Suite? Is the example we did in class where I gave you a zip folder and you had to unzip it, and it had all the pages in there already. They just didn't have much in them, right? So it's essentially the same as that. Like on here, it will give you, I don't know if we give you the head or the body, but I know we give you the link to the CSS page. Well, we'll give you most of the link to the CSS page, I should say. Let me show you. So it'll be like this on the test. So you don't have to memorize like how to do the link because it'll all be here, except you'll have to put in the reference to the CSS page, if that makes sense. So now we're gonna go ahead and create a CSS page to go along with ours. I'm gonna call it styles.css. Okay, and I'll delete these other two guys so you guys don't see them. Okay, so we have our index.html and our styles.css. So right now, for me, they're both just sitting on my desktop. So to link them, all I need to do is put in the href styles.css. And remember, you have to remember the folder structure as you're doing this. If they're not in the same folder, because since they're both on my desktop, that's identical to them being in the same folder. If they're not, then you have to, do your // and move around accordingly. But Dr. Payne covers that on her video too, and I think we covered enough in class. So, okay, so now we have a linked page and a style sheet, and we're gonna go ahead and create, something that looks really ugly like this. So this page, if you notice, I resize it, right? And this page has 3 sections, our header and 2 other sections in the body. And they're each getting about half, and they're resizing as we go, right? So we're gonna go ahead and just create kind of a basic structure like this, just to get, to get this principle down. So first thing we need to do is create some div tags. I'm just gonna create div and div, and I'm gonna copy and paste that 3 times because I know we need 3. So if you're wondering about the shortcuts, you can go Shift, up to copy both of those twice. Okay, so now I have my 3 divs, but right now they're all the same, and there's no styles applying to them either, right? So there's there's a couple different ways you can create your own custom style, right? I'm gonna take a little brief break from that and talk about this. So the first way you can create a style is, say I want to affect all paragraphs. I can just type in P and write styles that affect every single P tag, right? I can say like background color is purple, right? So all my paragraph tags will have that background color purple. And you can do that with any tag. You can do it with the body tag, that's how you do a background. You can do it with like all your divs be the same, things like that. So that's just affecting every single tag. Another way to create a style is using the dot, and this is called a class. You can make your own custom style, so custom 1, for example. And so for this one, say I'll make the background color blue. So this custom 1 can be referenced inside of any tag. So this is a class. So all I'd need to do in my HTML is inside of any of these tags type in class equals custom 1. And I can do it wherever I want, right? Class equals custom. I'm going to be erasing this in a minute, but I'm just showing you. So classes can apply wherever you want, right? I can put it down here. So there's also IDs, which is what we're going to do with these div tags, and you use the hashtag or the £, and we're going to call this, well, header bar, right? So an ID is unique. We're going to make background color blue. So ID tags, so think of ID, we always think of ID as a unique identifier, right? So this ID can only be used once on this HTML page. So I could put this class anywhere I wanted, but when I type in an ID, it can only be used once. Yeah?
What happens if you do use it twice? Will it just not show up the second
it just won't show up the second time. Yeah, and it won't run your it won't pass HTML5 validation. So we called this header bar. Okay, so I'm going to delete these classes, but I'm going to keep the ID for header bar. So, and if you, just by looking at this page, we know that these three are kind of unique parts of the page, so we're going to create an ID for those instead of a class. Right, so we have our ID for header bar. Let's make 2 more IDs for those 2 other sections. So we'll call it left section. We'll make background color. Which color is the left side? Red. And then the right section with background color yellow. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and delete these with one final note. Is one other thing you can do with classes like this custom one is you can put a tag in front of it. Like I could say div.custom1 or paragraph.custom1, and that just means I can only use that custom1 class in a paragraph tag. It won't apply to anything else. So, okay, and I'm going to post I created a kind of a sheet with some of those rules, like a Word doc, and I'll post that after today too. Okay, so we have our 3 IDs, header bar, left section, right section with background colors. Go ahead and save these. Let's also put on our ID for right section. ID equals left section. Also, I was playing around earlier, and no matter how hard you try, if you put a period in front of header bar and type ID equals header bar, it will not work. ID always needs to have the pound sign. So if you're ever running into, they're written exactly the same, what's going on, double check that you have the right selector in front there. Okay, cool. So let's pull this up, our index page. Right now it's probably going to look like nothing. And it looks like nothing. So we're on the right page. That's good. Okay. So we've given them background colors, but right now they don't have any form or size, and there's no text, right? So if we did put text in here, like if I typed in my page and then refreshed it, we see that blue color, right? But we want it to be able to show up that blue color even without any text in there. We want to have a header bar. Okay. So let's go ahead and look over here. So what's important for things like this are all the positioning CSS attributes. And I have a list of them over here. These are the notes I'm going to post later. It's like 3 pages. You don't have to read through it, but I typed out this stuff. So these down here are all the positioning things you'll use. Top, left, bottom, right, position, z-index, height, and width. So let's go ahead and start with, if we want it to look like this guy over here, what should we do? I guess. Anyone want to throw something out? Our first step? There's a lot of different first steps, so.
Position absolute.
Yeah, let's do that. Position absolute. That is a very good thing to do. Okay.
A quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Keith said for his test, he'd only be using position absolute. Is that the same for us too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we won't dock you if you don't, but honestly, it's kind of the easiest way to make everything work. But yeah, if you want to use, I wouldn't mess with the other ones. Yeah.
So the reason why we put it in absolute is it just stays fixed, right? Like stays fixed.
Yeah, so what absolute actually refers to is it says look to my, so this is kind of hard to explain, but so it's basically saying I am going to act according to my parent, is what it means. And in this case, all of our divs, their parent is the body, right? So if I had another div inside of the header, and I said like, oh, I want it to be, 50 pixels away from the top, it'd be 50 pixels away from the top of the header, not from the body, right? So so I'll try and like show that later, but yeah, it's basically telling it to look at use the whole page, like use the HTML page as your guide for where to move around or what your width is and stuff like that. So it basically helps us as we're doing, like how far do we want it from the top? How far do we want it from the left and the right? So yeah, position absolute. Good. Okay, how far do we want this header bar from the top? That blue one on the right. 0, right? So I'm gonna put 0 pixels.
Is that even necessary?
Kind of. I'll show you, here, we'll take it off and we'll look at it without that, and I'll show you why. So if we do it without it, let's just go ahead and throw a width on there, right? And how big do we want it? How big is this one?
100%.
It's 100%, exactly. Because no matter how much I change the page, like I can't see the end of it, right? So let's make it the width 100%. And let's make our height, what should we make our height? 20%? Sure, we can do 20%. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this, and we're gonna go refresh this page and see what happens. Boom, we have a header, right? Look, and it's stretching out. That's pretty cool. So notice the gap there between the, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like that white rim around it. So the reason for that is there is some like padding from the body tag. So that's why I said from top to do 0 pixels. Because that's going to move this up to the very top, right? It's not allowing for any sort of padding. We can do the same from the right side and the left side. That's basically saying we want that left edge to be 0 away from the parent, right? We want them to be touching. So that's how we get a complete band there, right? Okay, we're good on that. So let's move on to our next section. So our next section, we want on the left side. First, let's do our position absolute. Because if you don't have that in there, you might run into some weird issues. Okay. What do we want our width to be here? 50%? Yeah, okay. Width 50%. So the thing is, if I just do width 50% and go here, I'm not going to see anything. And the reason for that is it has a width, but it has 0 height right now. It just automatically defaults to 0 height. So that's why we're not seeing anything. Your code is working, it's just doing nothing because it doesn't have a height yet. So we need to make sure we set a height also. What should we set our height to? We could do 80%, yeah. Oh, look at that. Well, it showed up, so that's good, right? Again, this code is doing exactly what we're telling it to, right? We haven't told it to move down at all. So what we're going to do here, now I need to tell it to move down, right? How do I tell it to move down?
Let's go from the top.
You have to go from the top. Yeah. So what happens, so I could do bottom, but if I did bottom like 10 pixels or something, what happens is that just moves it so it's 10 pixels away from the bottom, which in this case like worked decently well, right? I pulled it down. So you could do it bottom. You could do bottom 0 pixels. Oops. And then it would be there. So I correct myself, you can do bottom. Look at that, it worked great. You could,
Why aren't you using like the float and clear features?
Appropriate here, or that's another way of doing it?
It's another way of doing it. It's because I'm doing the position absolute. sort of thing. The float is more like relative positioning and stuff like that. Like you're free to use those if you've been playing around with them and like can use them. But yeah, I'm just gonna stick with these like bottom, top, left, right stuff. The absolute positioning. Okay, so we could do bottom. We could also do top. You know, move it down from the top. I wonder, 20%, does that work? Yeah, that works too. So you could say down from the top 20%, or you could say, you know, I want it to be literally on the bottom, 0 pixels, and it does the same thing. So there's a lot of ways to do the same thing. That's why when we're grading this, we're in some cases just looking, is it look right? We don't have an exact, well, we have a version, but it's not, we're not going to dock you if you're like different because of things like that. So also let's go ahead and move this. We don't want it to have that little white gap, right? Do you remember how to do that? Is it left 0? Let's see. It is left 0. Yep. Okay, and we're good there, right? So in our last one, we do the same thing. Position absolute. Width 50%. Height 80%. You can do bottom 0 or top 20%, whatever you want to do. Sorry, this thing's bugging me. Okay, and then what do I do? What's the last thing I do here? Right 0. Right. Or I guess you could probably do left 50 also. Okay, and we have it, and it resizes just fine. So yeah, any questions on that? Okay. Let's apply it to another page. So we have this page, our index page. Let's go ahead and create a new page. And I'm just going to copy in the doc type HTML because I don't want to type it in. And I'm going to save it as page2.html. Right, and then we have our HTML, head tags, body tags. Right, so we have our second page here, but we need to link it to our style sheet. So I'm going to copy and paste this link into our header. And since it's also on the desktop, they're all in the same desktop folder, so I don't need to back out with a // or anything like that, or enter a new folder. Okay, so I've linked my style sheet. So let's go ahead and open up our page 2. But it's blank, right? So let's walk through. Is this still going? I don't know if my screencast is still going. Yeah, we've been going about 20 minutes. Okay, cool, we're still going. All right. So we have it linked. So now we need to, so I want you guys to walk me through this. How do I create a page that has the same look as the other page? And it looks like this. 3 divs, right? Oops, don't do that. Okay, then what do I do?
Create the ID.
Yep. Oops. Navigation bar. Left section and right section. Those are my names, right? Okay, navigation bar must be wrong. I think it's header bar. Header bar, okay. Cool, and boom, that's how you apply the same style to another page. What you need to know how to do. So now we have 2 identical pages. We'd probably put different stuff on them for the test. Well, we will, but, and make them less ugly. So any questions on?
It looks great.
It's great. It's like a kindergartner's
That's the best I
page.
can do.
Red, yellow, and blue. Okay. Okay, let's put in, say I'm not happy with these colors. I want also a green box because I think green's being left out of this. Well, orange and purple are too. But let's say I want a green box and I want to put it in the middle here, like overlapping the red and the yellow. Okay? I'm just going to do this on page 2. I don't want it on my page 1. So on my page 2, first I'm going to just create a div for it. And div. And let's name it green box. So I did div ID equals green box. And go over the styles and create an ID for green box. And my background color is green. Position absolute. Right. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a height and a width just so we can see it. Height, let's just say 50 pixels and width 50 pixels. So I think this is helpful just to give things a height and a width to begin with so you can see where they're at before you try and move things around. Because it's really hard to move things around that you don't even see, right? Okay, so we see our box up there in the corner. Oh, let's make it a little bigger. Let's do 150. Okay, that's bigger. Okay, so now we need to move our box. And we want to move it here to the center of the page. So how would I do that?
Move the box to the center of the page?
Yeah, this green box. I want it to be over here.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Why is it on the top? What brought it to the front?
So it's at the top because we haven't told it to do anything else.
Like it's not underneath the blue.
So it's not underneath the blue because of its order in our HTML file. So let me see if it should be that when I put it first, it's stuck behind, right? So, and I haven't given them a Z index. Oh, so let's leave it at the top. Let's move it up to the top. Right now, it's gone, right? It's behind our other divs. And yeah, there's a question back there.
So we're trying to align it to the center of this, like, should we use the alignment? Like, you want to move
Oh.
to the top right corner of the red box?
Oh no, I want to like, let's see how far I can go. Like in the middle
In the middle.
of there.
So can we like find it center?
You could probably do that. I didn't even think about it. Align. Is it just align? So, I use W3 schools too, right?
You do that with text.
Yeah, I didn't think so. You can do text align.
What does the float do?
So you can use float, but I'm not gonna teach how to use float. So, yeah.
So if we happen to put the green box later in our HTML, would we be docked points for not using a Z index if it still looked right and worked?
No, because, well, you're gonna have to use at least one Z index, you'll see. Like, it won't be, oh, I'm using the wrong keyboard. Yeah. There won't be just one thing that you need to use the index on, let me put it that way, I guess. Okay, so let's go back here. So we have our green box hiding behind here. We know it's there because we just saw it earlier. Let's go ahead and give it a Z index, right? Show you guys how Z index works. Z index, and the higher the number on a Z index, that means it's in front of everything else. But right now, nothing else has a Z index. So if we give it a Z index of 1, it's higher than everything else, because everything else is kind of automatically at 0. Not kind of, it is automatically at 0. Yeah?
Can you use like margin and padding to get it to move over?
Yeah, and you can actually use these same things that we used earlier, like the left and the right, and the top and the bottom, right?
Uh-huh.
So I would hesitate to like purely use padding, because then really that box is taking up more space than we see, or the margin, that'll change the actual height and width of the box also, or the padding will, but the margin won't. So what I would do is do something like move down from the top 50%, right? Kind of like how we did earlier. And now it's in the middle of my page, right? Or for this example, let's go ahead and use pixels since we didn't use them earlier, just so you're familiar with that. Let's go ahead and say I want to move it down like 500 pixels. And that's too far, so let's move it up to 100 pixels. And that's good enough for me, right? So I can use the percents or I can use the pixels, and that moves it down. And if I want to move it this way to the right, I can do it two ways, right? I can use left or right. I'm going to use left because to me that makes more sense that I'm pushing it away from the left. And do left 300 pixels. Oh, it's almost there. Let's go 375. So yeah, it's kind of an experiment, right? Oh, wow. Perfect. Okay, first try. All right, so now we have our box there. Yeah.
What happens if you resize your picture?
Yeah, it's gonna be messed up because I used pixels. So yeah. Good point. So because I used pixels, it's stuck at those exact pixels. Notice it's not moved from this side, it's staying the same distance. Because I said from the left, move it that many, right? Okay. And we'll be explicit on the test of when you need to use, like, when you need to be able to resize it and when it doesn't matter. Because sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes we don't want things like our header to resize. Like for example, so this one, I think we have our blue header resizing. Notice it getting smaller and smaller. And it gets bigger and bigger. Really, we probably don't want that, because then like for whatever's actually written there, we'll like, you won't be able to read it anymore. Or like, you know, on Facebook, when I resize Facebook, the Facebook logo doesn't get smaller and smaller or bigger and bigger. So there's a time and place for percentages and time and place for pixels. Okay, so let's say, let me scoot it over so it looks perfect again. Let's say I want the green box to be behind the yellow but in front of the red. Right? What would I do here? Yeah, a Z index. Let's put one into the yellow side, right? And what should I put? Yeah, let's do 2. See what happens. Boom. Yellow's in front now. Okay. Any questions on that? So I think I'm going to move on from like divs and IDs, unless you guys want to go through like a different example, because really it's just applying these same principles to whatever page, and I feel like we have a lot of different examples of layouts and things. I put some, let me show you on my suite. I put some examples up also that you can work on. There's like 5 million examples, so don't get lost in them, but it's loading up. Okay, go to student view. Let me see what day they're on. Okay, so down here I put optional practice with layouts. Some of these get a little crazy, so you don't have to do it. Well, you don't have to do any of them, but if you really want to get comfortable with this like div ID and moving things around on a page, I gave an example like here, making like these 3 boxes on a page. Some of them get a little crazier, or like, you know, these 3 boxes, things like that. Here's kind of a more standard example of a logo and a menu. Anyway, so if you do want to kind of play around with that more, then you can. It's just on the test day, number 4. But I think we'll move on. And I have Like I said, I wrote this review sheet about positioning, and I also included stuff about like the custom styles and IDs. Yeah.
I have learning suite up on the note sheet.
Uh-huh.
Document. I had a question about one of those.
Yeah, let's look at it. Right here.
The one that talks about the link that says type. Oh, href and title. Yeah, the alternate, kind of like how you would do alternate in the
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't think we've used that before. How?
No, we haven't used that before. Href title. Hold on. Because we've only used title on the headers. W3. Where's my W3 schools? There it is. I believe this does this kind of a similar thing to the alt text. But let me just see. It doesn't even have a title on here. Huh. Yeah, maybe that was meant to say alt. I'm not quite sure. I'll look into it later tonight, send out an email with that title. Just write that down. Okay. But yeah, good question. The nice thing about this sheet too is it tells you, kind of what you need to put in things. And since you can use W3 schools, that's going to be really helpful too, but it is a time crunch. So, okay. So the other thing, there were two other things I wanted to go over. So one thing I wanted to go over was links, because we didn't.
Can we go over the hover?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to do, the link hover and the link, stuff like that. So I think I have it on this sheet too. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to change these background colors. Oh, actually, let's do a border really quick. Sorry to like jump around, but we will get to the links. So right now, I think this page is very ugly. And so I'm going to change it. So first I'm going to get rid of, so I'm going to page 2. I'm going to get rid of the green box because I don't like it. And then they'll be gone. Okay. And I'm going to change, instead of background colors, I'm going to have them just be white, so I'm going to delete that. But I'm going to put a border, but I'm just going to put the border on the bottom. Oops. So border, bottom, and I'm going to do, I never remember what order this goes in, but let's see if it works. No, it didn't work. Okay.
You have to say whether it's solid.
Oh, yeah, that's why. 5 pixels. Is that the order it goes in?
Put solid in between.
Dude, you guys are so smart. Okay. Okay, it's probably there. It's probably kind of hidden. So let's, I'm gonna just decrease these heights for a second so I can see. Actually, I won't decrease the heights. I'll just take away the background colors of these two. Okay, yeah, so I have my border. I'm also gonna put border on the right side of the left section. I'm gonna make it 3 pixels dotted blue. Gotta keep some ugly going on, right? Okay. So now I have my page. It looks a lot nicer than before. It's nothing special, but it's nicer. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put some links in here. So on my page 2, I'm gonna put them in the left section div in case you're following along. So href equals, we'll do Facebook. And my a tag. We'll also have a link to, oh, I need to tell it what it wants. Okay, Facebook. Right? And then I'm gonna have another link that goes to my main page. And that's gonna be index.html. You can actually link things to themselves too. And it doesn't really do much, but just pretty much refreshes the page. Okay. Yeah.
On the Facebook, would we have to do http:// or just leave it at?
Yeah, you do need that. Good catch. And if you didn't know if you needed it or not, you could always click on it and test it like I just did. So there. Now that I put it in, it works. You can actually also, this is just kind of a fun, well, I don't know fun, but I put in target equals blank. And what that means is it means open that, oh, I guess I didn't refresh it or something. Go back. Oh, it did work. Did it? It opens it in a new tab. And so, anyway, so that's what target equals blank means. There's my Facebook. Okay. They're also on the same line, and I don't really want that, so I'm going to do a break tag for BR. And the best way right now to, because this looks kind of nasty, I would put padding in there, but I'm going to be lazy and just put a break. So that there's some room. Okay, so we have our links. Let me zoom in so you can see our links. So links do different things, or can do different things just by hovering on them, or they can change colors when you click on it. See, I'm still clicking on this and it turned red until I stopped clicking on it, right? So links are kind of unique in that way. They have a bunch of extra cool features, I guess you would say. So we access those features, like we can style them in our CSS by typing in A, then the colon, and then you tell it what part of the link do you want to affect. So you can affect hover, link just means what it is in general. There's also visited and active. So A, visited, A, active. Okay, I should probably maybe swap this one to the front just because it comes first. Right, and I believe are these on your cheat sheet or not? It doesn't look like it. They're not on your cheat sheet, but they are on W3 Schools. Right here, so on the A tag page. Okay, so let's play around with these a little bit. So let's say that when I hover, well, let's go ahead and put in our brackets because I don't want to mess anything up too much. When I hover over it, I want the text to turn yellow or something. So let's do color yellow. And I also want the size to get bigger. So I can do font size. I can specify a size or I can use percent. I'm going to say 200%. And I'm going to save this. When we come and refresh it, when I hover over it, it's pretty cool, huh? Like, it gets bigger. If I was being really mean, after I visited, I could say turn the color white. Then it doesn't look like I have links on the page, but then oh, it's not going to work when I hover. That's because it's a cascading style sheet. Let's see what happens if I do this. Yeah. Okay. So now they're sneaky hidden, right? Anyway, we won't do that though. We'll do black. You can make links look like regular text if you want, because you could do text decoration none. That takes the underline away. Oh, come on. Maybe I did that wrong.
It's under visited.
Well, these are visited, I believe. I guess I could do it on, see if it works on any of these. Anyway, sometimes you have to play around with these a little bit. It really wants them to be underlined. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I guess putting it in the regular link made it go away. So right now they just look like regular text, right? Anyway, so know how to play around with these different And you use the same stuff that you use on regular text, you know, like the text decoration, color, font size, font family. You can use all of that on links. But just remembering that you do it by doing this A:link, A:visited, A:hover, things like that. And active, let's make this a different color just so you can see. Color, make it green or something. So this is when I click on it, although I didn't want to turn green. Maybe my links just can't handle how much is going on right now. Okay, close all those. So many Facebooks. Okay. Yeah, they're kind of having a spaz attack right now. Over there. Oh, there we go. See? There's the green. I don't think I was actually hovering over them enough. Like I was over here and expecting it to like work. Anyway.
What's the difference between hover and active?
So hover is just I'm holding my mouse over it like this. Active, so active I have my color green. That's when I click on it. So I'm holding my mouse down right now. The second I let go, it will change back. Let's stop clicking on Facebook. And now it's just, seriously, it's just kind of spazzing right now. There we go. Okay. Any questions? Yeah?
So how would you make, like say you want to make it link so that it opens up, when you click on it, it opens up in a new page, it doesn't just replace it?
Yeah, so all you need to do is in that, I did it right here with Facebook. So I did target equals
Blank.
quotes blank. Yep. That way you don't have to keep clicking the back button when you're doing things like that. Any questions about links? Any questions about anything? I think I have one more thing I want to go over, but I want to make sure I'm like being helpful and, you know, getting the stuff that is most beneficial. Yeah.
Eventually, you can talk about the box model a little bit, padding the margin. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, we can do that. Is there a question back here too?
How much, like, are we doing all of this from scratch, or is there going to be sort of a skeleton of, like, I noticed that on the zip file that's on Learning Suite of the practice that you can do, the CSS page was like completely done. Is it going to be similar to that?
No.
Different than that?
So is that the one from Dr. Payne's review that has the CSS page done?
I don't know. It's the one with the resume with like picture of Uncle Rico. I
Oh,
assume it's
yeah.
Dr. Keith.
Yeah, that's Dr. Keith's. So the best example of what it's actually going to be like is, oh, I guess I didn't put it up here. So back when we did web dev stuff, where did I post it? Oh, right here. So on March 3rd, and I should probably move this to today, there's this code we started with, zip file. So it's really going to be much more like this, where it has, it's blank, you know, with the CSS is blank.
You have all the pages set up and everything.
The pages and file structure is set up. So if you notice, so I just opened it up. There's, you know, a few folders. There is a CSS file, but it doesn't have anything in it when you open it up. It's empty. So, yeah. Okay. All right, so let's go over the box model really quick, actually. Let me check. Okay, yeah, putting borders on things. That's essentially the box model. Okay. So also W3 Schools, which you can use during the test, has what I think is a great description of the box model. And it's the same like stuff that I put in my slides. Okay, so here's your box model: margin, border, padding, content, right? So when we're dealing with things, so let's go ahead and put our green box back in here. I'm gonna do div ID equals green box. And luckily, I mean, since all my work was done in CSS, that green box is gonna show up just great just by me putting in, it's over here probably. Yeah, it's hiding down there. Just by me putting that ID in, right? Because even though I deleted this part, I didn't delete anything in my style sheet. So just kind of another fun thing about style sheets. Let's make it a little different so we can see it. I'm just making it closer, I just changed it to 330 and 30 so we can take a look at this. Let's go ahead and put a border on this just so we can play around with the box model. So border black, or no, pixels first. 2 pixels, solid black. So we have our border. And then let's put some text inside of it. And I put it inside a paragraph tag.
Do you have to get in the paragraph?
Mm-mm. But I'm going to. Okay, I am a green box. That's great. Okay. So the first thing to notice about this green box is that the text is right up against the side, right? And that's not very pleasing in a design sense. Well, none of this is. I'm not a designer, but we don't want it to be touching the border like that. And if we're looking at our box model, what you can notice that our content is like touching our border, which means our padding is non-existent, right? So let's look at this and put in some padding into our green box on the CSS page. We'll do padding, let's just say 10 pixels for now. And if I refresh this, so you'll notice a couple things. First, it pushed this content away, but it also made the box wider and taller. And this is what we've talked about before, about like the adding up, like all of these things add up together to create the size of the box, right? So when we added 10 pixels of padding right here, it added it to the other side, it added it to the top, and it added it to the bottom. So it affected everything, right? Yeah.
So if you don't put in any padding, does it automatically have some on the top? Because it was all the way against the left side, but it was still quite a ways down from the top before you did anything.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I'm wondering if my paragraph tag did that or if it already had some on the top. Let's play around with that. I'm using the wrong keyboard again. So if we didn't do anything there, okay. So the paragraph tag did add a little bit of that. So if we took away this padding temporarily, refresh, yeah, so my paragraph tag was what added that extra space. So there's no padding here on any side of it. But then if I add it back in, then I have that padding. So yeah, good catch. And if I only wanted that padding to be on one side, I could do like padding top, and that'll, you'll also move back over there, or padding right, things like that. Padding left, 10 pixels. So yeah, and same thing with margin, is it's that invisible part around that box. So if I increase my margin, let's just do margin top by 20 pixels, you'll notice the whole box should move down, right? So it's that invisible border there.
So is it just best if you don't mess with those features? Just, is it easiest just to use top, left, right, and bottom?
Well, so this, yeah, I would say mess less with the margin, but your padding, is kind of a different function, right? Your padding's affecting the content inside of your box, whereas we were talking about boxes like touching each other and in position to each other. But if your text, is like looking like this, refresh that. No, I didn't delete it. On keyboard again. This is great. Save. Then you definitely want to do something about it, and padding is how you do something about it. So you do need to know how to use those. Yeah, any questions? Is this helpful? Yeah? Oh, good, okay. And I recorded it so I can post it. So yeah, I'm fine to stay after for a little bit if anyone's working on the examples and has questions, but that's all I had for the review. Unless there's something else you specifically want to go over, but yep.